Hello and welcome to another episode of Glory of Golden State Gaming. I'm your host, Swamp Swimmer, and with me today, all the way from across the ocean, Gareth, my round 2 opponent. How are you doing, Gareth?
I would have swum across the pond to be on this podcast, I promise, but I haven't this time. I'm doing good, thank you.
So we got paired into each other round 2 of the Nova Open 2025. You were of a small handful of people outside the United States who came to the Nova Open. Do you normally come to the Nova? What was the circumstances of you being there?
Yeah, there's nothing quite like the Nova Open in the UK. So I came maybe 10 years ago to the first one, back when it was run by Mike Brandt. It was a much smaller sort of family-run thing, because I'd heard good things about it. Blogging was a big thing, the blogosphere around Games Workshop games back then, and people were raving about these events in the US. And I thought, I want to treat myself. I want to get out to one of these things and see what it's like and try the whole experience. And I came out, I was playing 40k at the time, came out to see one. I did some painting classes. I met some really cool people. I played some games and I thought, this is amazing. I really enjoyed it. And I've since then ever since then tried to make a goal of getting out every couple of years to do the Nova Open. And people keep telling me about Adepticon and other things, but Nova's been it so far. Really easy to get to. It's on the East Coast, and so not too expensive. But really, really great little gaming holiday every now and then.
I completely agree. I think the Nova's got like the best vibe of conventions in the US. There's bigger ones, there's different ones, but they're like, Nova's just kind of got a little bit of everything, which is wonderful. But maybe we're getting ahead of ourselves. Gareth, tell me your Warhammer story. When did you start playing the rank and flank tabletop war games? What was your first army? Give me the story.
Yeah, you're reminding me that I'm old, Kenyon. So way back when, in the 90s, my parents bought a board game called Space Crusade for my brother and I. I've got a brother who's about 2 years younger than I am. And on the side of the Space Crusade box were these painted versions of the miniatures in the game. The ones they were blue, yellow, and red Space Marines with the old underslung weapons. So they were carrying the weapons in front of themselves. And I loved it. I loved the Space Marines. I loved the monsters. They had that sort of old style dreadnought wandering around this space hulk, and I was sold on it. On the side of the box, they had the painted miniatures and the name of the company, Games Workshop. And this is unfortunately long enough ago that I looked them up in the phone book. And in the middle of my the Thompson local, I looked them up, and there was a Games Workshop store in the town in which I lived, Maidstone. And so I went down there. I came home with a White Dwarf, and I'm sure there's a few people who've been in that same position. Peak friendly Games Workshop period, where I went down, young teenager. I get introduced to the different ranges. Fantasy, I had no idea that fantasy existed. I get given a White Dwarf. I spent a couple of minutes painting a Space Marine with the store manager, a guy called Ben, and I was absolutely hooked. I went home and I started making plans about how I was going to buy everything. I didn't yet understand that things came in ranges, so I was just looking. The White Dwarf back then had a catalog section at the back, and because it was all mail order driven, so the internet wasn't such a thing at the time. So instead, it was like Eldar Jetbark, £4, and Venom, £12, and I was like, okay, I'm going to get 2 of those and 1 of those, and I have to do this in green and blue, and I had no clue. I was completely without any sense. And very quickly, though, I got into Orcs and Goblins. I remember painting a stone troll over the course of a couple of weeks at the little table in the front of that store, and just got totally sucked into the stories, the ideas, the fiction that was available then. I remember my dad used to pay me £5 every couple of weeks to cut the hedge in front of the house. And that was enough if I didn't spend on anything else to buy a blister pack every 2 weeks. And so I collected my first Orc and Goblin army at the rate of 4 or 5 models a fortnight, one blister pack at a time, and the occasional birthday present and things thrown in. But that's how I got started, and then got into 40k, started playing that, a bit of Blood Bowl. I've always been a bit more of a hobby person than a player. I like the idea of playing the game more than actually get around to it, and that continued for most of my adult life. So roll through another 25 years of just always checking in, seeing what's going on, loving the new miniatures. I'm old enough that everything started out metal, and then the plastics
Yeah.
came. The plastics were terrible. So you didn't want the plastics, you wanted metal miniatures. And then
I remember the first plastics were garbage, and then they
oh
started
yeah,
evolving and getting better and better and better, and all of a
yep,
sudden
yeah.
they're amazing.
So and the monopose plastics, so you're like, you'd collect. I had the classic Black Orcs in plastic. They all held the axe above their head.
Yeah.
So they're and then you'd buy a command group in metal to go with them. And so it was painstaking, but at the same time, I absolutely just loved it. I loved the experience of painting. I liked talking to people about it. I liked hanging out at the store, and that's what I've been doing. And then more recently, I thought to myself, I should really play some of these games a bit more. And so I started going to events, really to sort of get myself to finish armies, to get things produced and on the table. And Nova, I went to Nova a few times playing 40K. That's been the game that took me there until this last one. And sometimes the 6 or 7 games of 40K I play at Nova, my previous 6 or 7 games were at the previous one.
Yeah.
And so it's just fun. I think the scale of those events, 250 tables of people playing 40K, and yeah.
I just love these tournaments, these huge tournaments, because the odds are you're going to play 5 games of games against people you've never played before, which is almost the best part of it.
Oh, it's amazing. And now you also get the opportunity to meet people that you've seen on YouTube or that you've seen running blogs or other things. And so there's that it's not celebrity, but it's that sort of minor celebrity. This last Nova, I took some painting classes from is it Marco Frizzoni? I'm going to say his name wrong now, but it's Marco Frizzoni, who I've been watching on YouTube for ages, and to sort of sit in the room and think, here he is, and now I'm learning about how to use oil paints and things. Yeah, right. Oh, okay. Yeah. He's a real person. But yeah, it's a fantastic thing to do, and really it acts as a sort of capstone to the rest of the hobby experience, which is quite solitary. Planning lists, imagining how things are going to go, painting stuff, putting it together, converting it. And I really like the social part of actually being at a table, playing with someone and saying, oh wow, I love your army. I like the way that you've put this together, and the ideas, the inspiration, and just being able to say to someone else, hey, that looks amazing. I really like the way you've done this, because I know that's one of the things I really like, is when someone picks up my stuff and goes, wow, these squigs, they're awesome. It's being able to reciprocate and say, hey, I love your stuff. I like the way how dingy this is, or how dark that is, or I like the way you've done this. Yeah, it's great.
And it's such an extra level of experience when you're on the tabletop playing the game, and both armies are completely painted, works of art, but like a lot of effort and heart went into them, and you can just, the visual joy of that is such a wonderful thing.
Yeah.
But let's get to the battle report. Let's get into the battle report.
Let's do it.
Okay. As I said, we got paired into each other for round 2. This was King of the Hill, which is that's the deployment, King of the Hill, and then the 2 secondary objectives were baggage train and special feature, which is the center feature. So the center feature is on top of the King of the Hill that you're being trying to be king of. It's a whole thing. I'm playing Beastmen. You are playing Orcs and Goblins tribes. This was a good game. So one disclaimer before we get in the battle report was I was feeling horrible walking into this game. I don't know what was going on. I got this huge headache. I ended up not actually playing round 3. I barely made it through our game, and then I had to go back up to the room and relax for a while. So first off, apologies for being not as active as I usually am at a game, but let's take a quick look at my army. If you're interested in knowing more about my army, please click the link to the video right above my head. It is my round 1 video where we go over my list in a little more detail. And let's take a look at Gareth's army. Let's see here. And you're running the ONG tribes, classic ONG, not one of the 2 Army of Infinies. Go ahead. You don't have to go through this army line by line, but just tell me what works in this army and how it functions together. How do you win with this army? So take it away.
Yeah, well, Orcs and Goblins, gambler's army. So you're definitely looking at, when things go well, they go really, really well. When they go badly, they're the absolute worst. And I think this is a bit of an evolution. So some of the things in here are the classics. So you've got 2 units of Night Goblins with 3 fanatics each. That felt like a reasonable number of fanatics. There are a few people there that had 9. One guy had 12, and I thought that's tough. At the same time, I think it's nice to try a few different things out. So the core of this is the random movers. There's 2 Mangler Squigs. They're random movers. You've got the Squig Hoppers. Gives you that sort of same feeling of the sort of craziness that I like from the Orcs and Goblins. But then inside of that, you've got a core of actually more reliable, sensible stuff. So Black Orc War Boss on the Wyvern, the classic Trollhide Trousers and Talisman of Protection. So he's a 3+, 5+, 5+. He's quite dangerous.
He's beefy.
Yeah, and I would say that the real trick to him is just working out what he can do and what he can't. So, Chaos Dragons are definitely off the menu. But there's quite a few things where you can sort of fire him off like a missile, and he'll go and deal with things without taking too much damage. Other big part of the list is a level 3 Orc Weird Knob with battle magic. I ran in with a Lore Familiar. I don't think I'd do it again. I think I missed the sort of the excitement of rolling for spells. But here it meant that I was able to take Arcane Urgency, and that was really about the big block of Black Orcs. So there's a chunk of Black Orcs here. Normally the Shaman is in there as well, and that means that he can generate a ward save for them, and he can get them Arcane Urgency and get them up the table faster. The biggest problem with Black Orcs at the moment is that they're just very slow. And so you take this big, strong, powerful unit, and then people look at it and they go, well, I am not going to fight that.
No,
and then they're left alone. Yeah, exactly. And then a couple of the Doom Divers, because it's great fun dropping strength 8 hits on people's heads.
Yes, yeah, it is, yeah. And Doom Divers are just so quintessentially Orcs and Goblins. It's like you have to keep them.
Well, and I've been suckered into the Age of Sigmar stuff, so a lot of the models in my army are the latest releases. So the Mangler Squigs are from Age of Sigmar, the Wyvern that the Black Orc is on. These are brand new, huge models. But I love the classic Doom Divers, and so rather than doing the same thing there, I've got the classic metal. So they're these 2 teeny tiny goblins sat hanging out with their bits of elastic, and then everything else in the army is sort of big and bouncy and plastic. So yeah, it's fun to go with those classic things.
So basically, this list comes down to a big block of Black Orcs flanked by 2 of the Night Goblin units, a Black Orc on a Wyvern going around killing stuff, Mangler Squig Hoppers jumping around killing things, and then 2 artillery pieces. That's like, that's the whole jam. Which is like that works for ONG. You always see Night Goblin units with Fanatics because they are pretty damn strong. Yeah, I mean that's a solid list. I'm not gonna lie, that's a solid list.
It's, I think the difficulty is that I kept seeing it. I really enjoyed playing it, but I think coming away from Nova, I really thought to myself, I don't want to do this so much again, because I kept seeing the Black Orc on a Wyvern, kept seeing the block of Black Orcs, kept seeing multiple units of Night Goblins, and I thought for an army list that has so many different options, so many different things you can do, it does seem ever so slightly tragic. But I guess the flip side of that is the confirmation that you've found some of the things that work, because when you keep seeing the same things, you think, yeah, okay, I have found some of the things that function. Yeah.
It's true. It's a hard line to walk. You don't want to be super meta and just run the same net list every time. That's the way a lot of people show up to tournaments. But then on top of that, I want to run a fun list. I want to run a fluffy list or that has a theme to it. So you try to walk that line. I do the same thing with my list. Let's get into the actual game here. Yeah, let's talk about deployment. I'm an ambush-heavy list, so basically I drop my units of Bestigors in the center of the board. I drop my gigantic spawn of Chaos on the left, and then basically you respond to me. I mean, what was your thought process here? I mean, it's pretty straightforward. It's Black Orcs in the middle, and then the Night Goblins on both sides.
Nothing crazy in this deployment, is there? I think I've played King of the Hill before and had a really tough time when I spread the army out too much. So coming into this, I just thought, you know what, it's about the hill. I know that you're going to be there, so let's sort of line my stuff up. And then I figured, I actually did some decent placement for once. Put the Black Orcs down where they could just march forward and not get stuck. Or wait, no, this is the game where they did get stuck. So this is me speaking from regret rather than ability here. Those Black Orcs should have been a few inches to the side so they could get around the impassable terrain in the middle of the table. Instead, they sort of march up and they're able to control the hill, but they're going to get stuck behind that impassable terrain. And I'm going to regret that.
I think they make it through. We'll get through here.
They get around. We'll see what happens.
We'll see what happens. But the main thing to notice here is it's not a flub. So if you notice right behind the hill in the center of the board, I drop my soothsayer with the skin of man, so he scouts ambushes or scouts vanguards. I'm sorry, and I put him within. And this is completely my fault. I put him within your random movement range of your mangler squigs.
Yeah.
I was 6 plus 6 plus 4 is 16. I was 16 inches away, almost exactly.
Yeah.
And turn 1, even though I had the +1, you won the first round to go first, and actually this is after a lot. I didn't take a whole lot of pictures of this game. What happens?
Okay.
Is you roll a 16 right off the bat. You go into my my soothsayer and you kill him, of course. Yep. Immediate points off the board. It was a dumb move by me, but also that sets up your yellow mangler squig, which is in the center of the board, basically on the hill there. It sets up a charge for my big block, and I just have to take it because he's right in front of me. I'm assuming I'm gonna kill you on the charge. I think it was pretty good odds I was gonna do that.
Yeah.
And then I didn't. Ugh. And then, and then what happens? Go ahead. I was
already feeling pretty bad for you at this point, because I think there are three things that happen at the beginning of the game that you had every right. We're playing Warhammer. We all know how this works. Sometimes the dice are against you. You had the bonus on the start of the game. I got first turn, so I think this is the first thing that sort of went sideways. 16 inches away from a random mover is a pretty reasonable place to be. You had every right to expect that I was going to roll a 10 or an 11. It's true. But at the same time, I think would you do it differently in the future? Well, maybe. But then staying 18 and a bit inches away, you're hedging so much, you're then losing the opportunity to get forward to take control. Yeah. I think that the point is that I made that roll, and I think I was as surprised as you were. And then you're also quite right that you were within your realm of expectation to kill the mangler. It's toughness 5, but it's only 4 wounds. There's only heavy armor on it. And so, quite often, any unit will either kill it or combat res it and then chase it down. To have those 3 things immediately, sort of run away from you was, I felt bad already.
No, it's a dice game. It happens, but the fun didn't stop there. I ended up not killing him. I think he had 1 wound left, and then just so everyone knows, Mangler's squigs have killing blow, and my general was there with a -2 to hit, and you rolled 1 6 and then a 6 to wound, and I didn't make my ward save, and you killed my general turn 1. It was like, oh no. It's bad enough my general died, but then all of my ambushing, I don't get the reroll on my ambush, which affects basically the rest of the game. Yeah,
and it gave me the opportunity to take your army apart in stages, which I think was really. It meant that you were playing uphill in King of the Hill right from the get-go, and I think you're right that pair of 6s. So there you go. It's 4 things right from the get-go that you're sort of dealing with, and it is a dice game, but I certainly think that I got about 85% of my dice luck in this game when I was at Nova this year.
And my thought process was I would kill him. I'd immediately restrain, reform, and then go get out of your Wyvern's charge arc, and then face off with your Black Orcs. That was my thought process. And then even on top of my general dying, I failed my restrain test, and they ran into the impassable terrain in the middle of the board. It just didn't go well. Go well. I'm gonna skip ahead through a lot of this game because there's not a whole lot to talk about. Your Wyvern ends up killing my my gigantic spawn after 2 rounds of combat. I end up ambushing my my other what am I trying to say? What's the spell? Viletide. My other Viletide on my board edge to try to Viletide your Wolf Riders. I end up killing all of them, and then it gets to you get some charges off with your Black Orcs, you crumple my middle, you destroy my main unit, nothing's ambushing on the board. So what I want to get to this point is I decided to, as this is turn 4, two of my ambushers still haven't showed up. They show up on turn 4. At this point, my thought process, and I think in previous editions it was the right choice, I was like, oh, I'm not winning this game at all. Let me ambush in the corner of the board and preserve points and maybe get 1 or 2 points back at the end of the game. And the mistake, this is another mistake I made in the new 6-0 scoring system instead of the 20-0 scoring system. And on top of that, all the extra points for all the secondary objectives. I had already, at this point, you had already max pointed me. I was already getting at 6-0. I was already getting at 0. Spoiler alert. So in reality, I should have tried to ambush and should have tried to push for points. Like maybe tried to kill your Wyvern or kill one of the Night Goblin bricks. But, man, I didn't do that.
This is the benefit of foresight, or rather hindsight. Hindsight's definitely the right word. I think it's... one of the things I really like about 1.5 is that it is about the points. It's always about the points. And you can be doing terribly. Your game can be falling apart, but you look around the table and think, well, that's still a 300-point unit. And with a bit of effort, maybe I can get it off the table or I can get it running away. And you're absolutely right. Those 2 blocks of Night Goblins, they're about 220 points each. They've each got a 60-point character in there. So both of them are sort of a 300-point opportunity. And they are Night Goblins. At this point, the Fanatics have been and gone. They're out and about and doing their thing. I think they're mostly dead at this point. And then the Black Orcs, that's a sort of 350-point block. And then the Wyvern, another 350 points. And the thing about things in that 350-point range, it means that they're valuable, but they're not unkillable. And also, I think you've done a little bit more damage than you credited. You can look at that picture and see the Manglers are gone. The Squig Hoppers are still hanging around in the backfield, but there's still points that you've earned there. And I think it's knowing your position, knowing that actually forget this stuff, that's gone, but here I can deal with this. And I think when we were playing this turn, you and I both realized that actually you deployed that unit in the corner really nicely. There was no way I was going to get to it. The Wyvern was going to be out of range. The Squigs couldn't make it. And so I think it's maybe it wasn't going to serve you, but at the same time, sensible play and a lesson to take away for next time.
Yeah, and let's skip ahead to the results here. I got a little big old 0. You got the 6 win. I think you had a big win round 1 also. So you got pushed up the boards in round 3. You were probably on the top table.
Finished the first day thinking, this is amazing, and then had a really tough second day, as is often the way, going 3 and 2, I think. And I think that's partly through matchups. In this case, in this game, I think that Mangler Squig making that first move was pretty pivotal. And then I think by the end of turn 1, I was thinking to myself, it's really a case of, can I snatch defeat from the jaws of victory here? And I really enjoyed it. At the same time, I came away with lots of things I thought I could do better. I think one of the things I'm still learning is how to pilot that Wyvern. It's very easy to pick tricky, the wrong direction. And so I really enjoyed the game, and I could see that you were uncomfortable as well. I think that was I could see that you were not
my head was throbbing.
Best.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah. And so solid win, but at the same time, I think you lined me up very neatly for a Bretonnian smashing on the next day when I had the reverse done to me and was very neatly taken apart, and I think I scored a bit less than 438 points in that game. So it was really, really fun.
Good. Oh, so it wasn't that eventful of a game, but I'd love to I still have the time with you on this YouTube channel. You're obviously, you said a prolific, is that the right word? Orc and Goblin tribe player. 2 questions. How do you think Orcs and Goblins are doing in the meta right now in the whole scheme of things? And 2, if you were to run the fluffiest character, like the just different themey list you've ever run in ONG, what would you run? 2 questions.
Those are good questions. I would say that at the moment, Orcs and Goblins tribes are in the bottom half, towards the top of the bottom half, but they're in the bottom half of the table, as it were. The difficulty is that some of their best units lack the mobility that they need. Some things are not very well costed. The Arachnarok Spider is usually agreed to be one of the most over-costed things in the game. And I think that there's a few things like that in the list that just are too random. So Mangler Squigs on a good day, what a fun thing that is to have. But on a bad day,
really
it's
spike
a 4
and do
wound.
crazy things. Yeah,
They really can. And D6 impact hits, D6 attacks, which means that that's potentially 12 strength 6 attacks, and a lot of horrible experiences for your opponent. It's also more often than not very many attacks, and it's quite small units then eating those Mangler Squigs and earning themselves 95 points. So I think that at the moment we've really benefited from improvements to orcs and goblins. And by that I mean that sword and board orcs and goblins are now way more durable than they were in the past. And so I think you've got a bit of lead time because people need to go out there and get the models again. But on the way home from Nova, I ordered a unit of orcs and of goblins, regular goblins, who haven't seen any play for a while. Because I thought, you know what, like for 135 points, you can get 30 goblins with a 4+ save in combat, and that is a whole world of fun to be sort of holding objectives with. And
that's the beauty. That's the beauty of goblins is just their point, their cost. It's just like it's nothing. Yeah. They're so cheap.
And it's frankly delicious. So I think a little bit too variable. And when you look at some of the top things at the moment, screams just work. Viletide just works. And you can have good and bad times with it, but if you build a list around those key mechanics, then those armies just nearly always perform well. In the same way that Resurrection is a really great mechanic at the moment, especially with the buff to regenerate saves, which means that you've got even more durable dead units that just don't go anywhere. And to the point where a lot of the conversation in the meta is about avoiding them, managing the table rather than your opponent, etc. Because actually trying to kill some of these undead units is just impossible, or can feel impossible, especially for orcs and goblins. There's nothing. Go on.
It's just those specifically those undead units, the big undead rank and flank units that can be healed every turn.
Yeah.
They're so intimidating, and you can kill them, but it just needs to be in the right way, which is hard to do sometimes.
Yeah. Well, and nothing in the Orc and Goblin list is particularly good at outputting a huge amount of damage very, very quickly. So you look at things like the Black Orcs; they're really great at grinding down an opponent. They've got stubborn. They'll sort of take on anything up to a Chaos Dragon and lose a rank or two, and then they're still there in the next round of combat, and they're chewing out and handing out wounds. But against the undead, it just doesn't matter because your opponent is just as strong after a round or two of combat. Perhaps in some cases stronger. So in terms of the overall meta, I'd say we've been fortunate. I think that you'll see Orc and Goblin lists changing. I don't know. I think what we had at Nova was 1.5 versions of classic Orc and Goblins. I think that as the meta continues to develop, you're going to see some changes. And I'm looking at that myself in terms of, well, where do I want to go? And I've really enjoyed Squigs, but I think they're too fragile to work well in 1.5. They just give up their points too easily. So I think there's a few things that I'm going to change. And frankly, getting away from Fanatics for a little bit would be some fun. Your second question, you asked about fluff, and I think one of the great things about the way that the Orcs and Goblins are written is that there's lots of different directions to go. You can go Night Goblin, you can go deep on that, you can go fully Orc and sort of do your Gorbad Ironclaw stuff. But for me, it's a combination of two influences. One is just long-term love of Night Goblins. I think I would be playing them even if they weren't cool, and Squigs. And in my sort of collection, Squigs are the way I go. So my fluffy army is an Arachnarok Spider with a Shaman on top, surrounded by Squigs of every sort of denomination. So really nice big Squig herd. I've got 20 Squig hoppers, 2 units of 10, 2 Mangler Squigs. It's just Squigs everywhere. I love that. Then the Night Goblins are just there really as your back line, so that there's something that holds home base while the Squigs go off crazy around the table. My saddest fluffy thing is that you can't put the big bosses on giant Squigs into the Squig hoppers. I love this idea. They can join, but then you need to play the Squig hoppers in open formation, open order.
Oh, and
and
you
it
can't be
just
skirmishing. Yeah.
yeah, right. And then you lose all of the mobility, all of the 360 stuff, nearly all of the benefits that make Squeak Hoppers really, really fun. Just goes away, and so that just doesn't work the way you'd like it to. But yeah, that's how I would do it. And the reason, the big fluff reason, is because in Total War Warhammer, Skarsnik starts the game with a bright orange Arachnarok spider in his starting army. And I was like, I must have one of those in bright orange. It must absolutely happen. And when you've got a bright orange spider, you just have to have bright orange squicks, and one thing
It
led to
makes
another.
complete
So,
sense. It makes complete
yeah,
sense.
there you go. There you go.
That's a good choice. I mean, like, the whole Night Goblin, I don't know what you want to call it, like all the writings, how it's written, all the little subsidiaries of different squigs and how they're used, and the lore and mushrooms and all that. It's so rich. It's so fun.
Yeah.
And it's so old school Warhammer too. Like Night Goblins have been around since what edition? I don't know, way before I started playing.
Yeah, they're very classic, and it goes all the way back to the classic. So one of the original lead models for the Night Goblins is giving the bird, and that sort of old style Warhammer attitude, and I was actually just a little bit earlier today. I was reading one of the classic army books, because some of the magic items back in the day were crazy. Mork's War Banner. Any wizard touching this unit dies on contact.
The old rules were crazy.
Yeah, like it just
4th edition, 5th edition were insane.
And I think that Night Goblins still encapsulate some of that feel. And the number of games I had at Nova where my opponent would say, "Sorry, so let me just get this straight. D6 strength 5 hits. If I touch them or they touch me, yeah. And you've got 3 of them in each unit, yeah. Can I shoot them? No. Can I target them? No. They're kind of like terrain effects. All right. That's really good. Do they have any armor penetration? Yeah, they're AP3. AP3. And
yeah, I know.
Myself,
they're just so good, right. And that's why almost every ONG list has 2 or 3 blocks full of them, because they're that good. Yeah. All right. I think I agree with you. I think I might make the argument that ONG are slightly above 50%. You said slightly below 50%, but they're somewhere around the middle there. I completely agree with that. Thank you so much for joining me. We had a great game, even though I was under the weather. But thank you for jumping on this battle report. I hope I see you again. I hope I see you back at Nova again, because I'm going every year. Great. Well, then I'll hopefully see you next year. All right. Well, I'll see you next time, and thank you everyone for watching.